What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to show you some underspin tricks that you probably never heard of. I'm going to walk through the bait, some secrets, my rod, my reel, line, everything. So stick around if you want to hear a little bit more on how to rig it up my way. An underspin is a bait fish imitator, and it is basically like a swim bait head with a hook. However, what makes it different is it has this little arm, or sometimes a swivel, that hangs down and connects to a blade, as you guys can see there. And what this does is when this is swimming in the water, instead of just a swim bait, you actually now have a little bit of flash. And this can really help when there's either a lot of bait fish and you want to stand out and distinguish your bait from the hundreds or thousands of other shad that are in the water. Or if it's sunny, sometimes they like that little extra flash, like a spinner bait, but this is more like a finesse spinner bait, or it can be used like that. So that's what an underspin is. You can fish this pretty much the same way you would fish a swim bait. You can just cast it out to the shore, or cast it out and just chuck and wind, reel it back to the boat very steadily. You can cast it out, let it sink all the way to the bottom. In the winter time, I actually fish this all the way up to 40, 50 feet deep, all the way on the bottom. There's a few different designs of underspin. This one here is the fish head spin. There's a bunch of different options out there. This one's pretty good. There are a few better options that don't roll over if you want to reel it a little faster, and I'll link a couple of those in the description below. But this one has worked well for me if you're going to reel it very slowly and just let this thing work in the water. The fish head spin has a great hook. It's great for spotted bass. If I was going to be fishing for a largemouth, I would probably look for something with a little bit bigger hook. But like I said, this works great. Underspins come in all sorts of different sizes. This is a 1/4 ounce. This is a 1/2 ounce. And this one right here is a 3/8 ounce. That's what I go with most of the time. If you just slow reel this one back, just cast out and immediately start reeling back to the boat, it's gonna come back at about, I don't know, 6 to 10 feet deep, which is perfect for a lot of the stuff that I'm fishing for, or right over the fish's heads that I'm fishing for. But you guys can see here, they work really well. This one doesn't have any paint on it anymore. I actually need to repaint that one up a little bit of white. I don't think it matters, but just make it look new again. But you have the traditional style, as you guys can see there, it looks just like a swim bait head, and then it has that blade. And then you also have the stand-up style. And as I was mentioning before, a lot of times in the winter time, I'll use this stand-up style on the bottom and just creep it along the bottom so it sits. And it'll just come back to the boat and it stands up. But that's essentially what an underspin is. Like I said, it's just meant to imitate a bait fish. Into the rod and reel that I use, an underspin is not anything special. Like I said, fish your standard swim bait, jig head swim bait combo. But for me, what I've settled on is just a standard reel. I think this one's either 7-to-1-to-1 or 8-to-1-to-1. Again, you guys know I like faster reels, and you can always slow down. The rod in particular, I've tried a bunch of different rods. If you use a faster action rod, a lot of times you can pull the bait out of the fish's mouth. And we'll kind of get into my my secret modification here in a little bit, but that's part of the reason that I actually like this crankbait rod. This is a CB 905, so a 7.6 medium heavy, 3/8 to 1 ounce. But I really like it. Like I said, it's a crankbait rod, and all I'm gonna do is when I get bit, I just keep turning the handle. I don't set the hook, I don't sweep anything, and when that rod loads up, that's when I sweep into the fish. I'm not setting it like a jig rod. I'm just literally letting the rod load up. That means they have the bait fully in their mouth, and then I'll sweep. In terms of line, I've tried a bunch of different lines as well. I think 10 to 12 pound line is plenty for most applications. If you need to jump up, I would go 15 or 17. Just fish what you normally would with your standard swim bait jig head setup. So that's the combo I use. Again, crankbait rod, 10-pound line, straight to the underspin. I use the 3/8 ounce the most. That's what this is here. In terms of trailers, as you guys can see here, I think every one of them that I pulled out has a Zoom Super Fluke Junior on it. That's probably my favorite trailer. As you guys can see, the tail is not a paddle tail or anything. It's just a split tail. And it's pretty much a do nothing action, but in the water, when you're reeling it, I guess with the vibration of the blade, but that tail just little bit of flicker. So I would consider it finesse. If they're really on it, you can switch to a paddle tail style. My personal favorite are Kitex. I would probably throw, I think this is a 3.8. I would throw this on more of like the 1/2 ounce or 3/4 size. And the 2.8 is one of my favorites. I think 3.3 would be a perfect size for the 3/8 ounce underspin. In terms of color, anything that looks like a shad, I really don't think it matters most of the time. I like white. White's one of my favorites, or just something like, again, like a shad color. But you can also throw those paddle tails. They work well. Again, depends on the day. I've had more success actually with more of the finesse style Zoom Super Fluke Junior style bait with just the split tail. I think it's a little finessier, and I think sometimes that's just enough to get them to commit. Now, let's talk about my secret. With underspins, a lot of the times you will get bit, and as I mentioned before about the rod, you'll either pull it away from the fish's mouth or you'll get absolutely smoked and not hooked up. So because of all the short strikes, we started to figure out that they were actually eating the blade. And we figured this out because sometimes you'd come back and the blade would be completely missing from the underspin. And that clued us in, they were actually eating the blade. And so what we did is we ended up putting a hook on the split ring that the blade is on. And this makes your catch ratio skyrocket. I think most of my fish that I catch now are on that blade hook. I think they're hitting the blade and not the actual bait. And so when you put that hook on there, when they eat the blade, they get that hook. And this hook does not impede the blade at all. The blade still spins around with no problems. And like I said, a lot of the fish, including the one you saw in the intro, come on this trailer / blade hook. As you guys can see here, this trick works. Didn't have the main hook, but it had this blade hook. This hook right here, I use, you can use any trailer hook that you want. I always try to match the hook size to the size of the blade. So as you see here, these blades are different sizes. So you'd want different size hooks. This 3/8 ounce head is great with a Gamakatsu Stinger hook size 2. So that's a size 2 hook there, sits perfectly in that blade, and that's the one you go with. Depending on the brand or company that you go with, it can be anywhere from a size 1 to size 2, and if you're going with this small one, small blade, a size 4. But try that trick out, guys. Like I said, for me, all of them now have that bladed hook. Unless I'm fishing it on the bottom, I'll take it off if I'm fishing it on the bottom, just so it doesn't get snagged on everything. But if you're fishing it up in the water column, throw that Stinger hook on the blade. That was a secret that was taught to me. And like I said, I think most of the fish, I would say a heavy majority of my fish, at least 3 out of 4, come on that bladed hook, which is interesting. I don't know why they're eating the blade or locked into the blade versus the actual swim bait itself, but hopefully that's a tip that can help you guys. Try it out, throw a Stinger hook on your blades of your underspins, and you'll definitely catch more fish. If you guys have any questions on how I rig this up, or want to know more about where I fish the underspin, what depth, what time of year, etc., Post them in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching and supporting the channel. Let me know what you guys think. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next video.